Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Samir, for setting this up. X1 Discovery was founded in 2003 by industry veterans in the digital investigation space. It was started because there is a need to be able to find information on your desktop very quickly. So a desktop application was created to easily search through all of your emails, PST files, and folders. Over the years, X1 has built additional products based upon this core search technology. All the products do contain our patented fast as you type technology that not only runs on your individual desktop, but through company networks and through social media data. As you can see, we do have over 600,000 customers across 20,000 organizations using the different X1 software. This ranges greatly from Fortune 100 companies to all the US three-letter government agencies to local law enforcement, as well as law firms. And lastly, and one of the most important items to point out, is that the development of our software is driven by its customer base. So we are a company that not only listens to how our clients are using the software, but we value feedback in order to improve functionality of future releases. So the big question is, why do we collect social media data? So many years ago, electronically collected evidence presented in court was just simply a hard drive or emails. But as you have probably noticed, social networks have evolved into a daily used product by billions of users worldwide and growing. So not only are individual people posting every second of their day, but businesses have also found social media to be a useful way to connect to its customers. And because of all this information that's been posted, it's become both relevant and discoverable in many cases. Um, because of this, X1, did create industry-leading technology to be able to gather that social media from the different social media sites, the internet, as well as email. Um, Traditionally, when people were collecting from social media sites, what they would do is they would print out a copy, do a screenshot, print it out, and then provide that to court. Unfortunately, you can't authenticate printed screenshots. So in many cases, the court has tossed out all that evidence. So with the X1 software, not only do we provide that authentication, but we also collect all the metadata that's associated to all the posts, all the tweets, and everything that we do collect. And all this, obviously does reduce the time and the cost to your organization by properly collecting all this social media evidence into one platform. So the X1 social discovery software, was really, designed for investigators to be able to very quickly collect all social media posts from all the different social media sites, any website content, webmail, and YouTube videos. And once you've collected all that information, put that into a very simple, easy to use interface. Um, so not only does the solution, collect all the data, but it also, as stated earlier, does collect all the metadata that's associated to each post, tweet, or linked content. If if you do a YouTube, for instance, collection, and somebody were to remove that video, you would have that video within your hard drive, um, and so it would stay with your case, even if somebody did delete that. Um, Everything that we do collect is legally defensible, and we do preserve the chain of custody in case that is ever brought up in court case. And lastly, the X1 social discovery, as stated earlier, is built upon the X1 patented search technology. So all the data you can very quickly search through. So as fast as you start typing, it's going to search through thousands to tens of thousands of posts, um, tweets, or messages that you may have within your case. So here's really the five pillars of the X1 social discovery user experience. So as stated earlier, um, the X1 software can collect from any social media site that's out there, whether it's our direct connectors that we already have built in or through our web capture feature. Once you've identified what URLs you want to collect from, again, we have almost a one button, two button push that will allow you to very quickly collect and aggregate all that data into your case. Once you have all that information, this is where we can really use the X1 or the search technology to filter out exactly what you're specifically looking for. You can use keyword searching to search through all the posts. You can tag specific items, um, and then you can preview them in a very simple preview pane. Once you found all the data that does pertain to your case, you can very quickly export that information out into either a concordance load file, which can be then uploaded into a review platform such as Relativity or Relativity One. Or what you can do is export that data into a PDF document that you can email or send to opposing counsel or anybody else within the organization that does need to preview that. So here's a couple of different use cases that I've worked with organizations worldwide on. For instance, for HR investigations, there's been many instances in the United States and abroad where people are posting on their Instagram or on their Facebook pages, um, potentially like rude or saying negative things about other people, other races, or people within the organization. So we do work very closely with HR departments to be able to identify and capture those profiles. And what we can also do is take a look at all the metadata that's associated to those posts. So we can see, like, if for instance somebody is posting while they're at work, our software does collect the metadata, the date and the timestamp, so we can see when people are posting and what people are posting. I've worked with law enforcement agencies around the world, and there's really kind of one common factor that I've seen, and that is, there are incredibly smart criminals out there that do incredibly stupid things, especially when it comes to their social media sites. For instance, people uh, either videotape themselves or take pictures of them doing an actual crime. So it makes law enforcement uh, tasks very easy to be able to collect that information, collect those images, collect those videos, build that case, and put that criminal away very quickly. Next slide. So here's one of the most important slides that I'll show you today, as this goes into detail of how the social discovery software actually works. There's two ways that we collect information from social media accounts. One, if you have the credentials, you're able to extract all the data, including Facebook Messenger, Twitter direct messages, Instagram, Tumblr, and YouTube. If you do not have the user's credentials, you're only able to see the public information that's shared on those sites. So if you can see the data, the X1 software can capture the data. For YouTube, we have the ability to extract individual videos or the full channels with comments and everything that you would see on the page. Again, all this data is stored locally on your computer, and all the videos would run on your hard drive. For our web capture features, we have the ability to do a single page capture. We can upload up to 2,500 URLs, or you can crawl an entire website for specific keywords. The web capture feature also allows us to pull content from sources such as LinkedIn or Pinterest, and gives you the ability to pull data from the dark web where we don't have built-in scanners for. Our webmail scanner does allow you to access a person's private email account for AOL, Gmail, Outlook, or Yahoo. The only requirement is that you do need that person's credentials to be able to access any of their email data. So I mentioned in previous slides that we do collect all metadata that's associated to all the different posts, as well as we do MD5 hash all images and things that we do collect. So an MD5 hash, if you're not familiarized with that, it's a long string of numbers that is collected at the time of collection. And as long as that string of numbers doesn't change from the time it's presented in court, it verifies that that information has not been altered in any way, shape, or form. So all collections are done so in a forensically sound and defensible manner. Within the software, you have the ability to archive cases. You can put that onto a storage unit if need be for further investigation down the road. You can create customized tags to export data very quickly out of the X1 software. And as Ashley will show you, we do have a federated search that many people have found very useful. And if you're collecting, across multiple cases, across multiple people, across multiple different platforms, our federated search allows you to very quickly search through, thousands to tens of thousands of posts very quickly for specific keywords, and it will highlight those keywords within the platform as well. So this is the last slide that I'll show you here today, and this is really kind of hits upon the key advantages of the social discovery software. Again, defensibility. So the X1 software does preserve all data again in a legally defensible manner. Our X1 software has been used in thousands of court cases worldwide and has been court vetted and approved as a social discovery collection tool. So again, we do aggregate data from multiple sources in real time. So again, for instance, if you have potentially hundreds of URLs that you're collecting from, we have the ability to be able to see and search through all that data very quickly. So again, we do collect all metadata, MD5 hash items. That does keep that chain of custody intact. And with that, I will go ahead and send it over to Ashley to go ahead and show you a demonstration of the software.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike, for the introduction. Well, this will now be transitioning into the live demo portion. So all of the information that Mike covered and provided to us, you guys will really be able to see that in action. And since we have a mix of audience, on this webinar, we have some law enforcement, we have a little bit of legal as well. We did want to show the range of the tool and how it can work with, a wide variety of different use cases. focusing on those two markets specifically. But since we have a lot of people who may just be seeing social discovery for the very first time, we also wanted to keep this very introductory, high level, so that you can really walk away knowing, you know, why you should use social discovery and the benefits of using it, regardless of, you know, which market you're in. And then just as a reminder, if we can have everyone keep their phone lines muted during the presentation, that would be great. So just to get us started off here, since we have a lot of people who are just seeing social discovery for the very first time, I do want to sort of explain how it's used. So just this very first screen, this very first screen that we have here is our Manage Cases screen. And this is to show you that social discovery is a case-centric software. So what that means for the user, they can create multiple cases within the tool. And then within a single case, they can set up multiple collections to collect from their social media or their web or email data. So you can really organize each case by, you know, what you're investigating, the particular topic or the particular people. We're going to be focusing on a demo case that I have created here. This is going to be my active case. And now that we have an active case, we can really see you know, the interface of the tool and how it looks. So here we have our Manage Collections area. And this is where the end user would do their collection setup. So this is really helpful because what we really strive to offer with social discovery is one tool where you can use to collect from social media, web, or email data. You know, previously there were vendors that provided functionality, but you had to buy 3 different tools. We wanted to make everything available within one software program to make it as easy as possible for the user. So we have our social media categories here. This includes Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll be going over some examples of that. We also have our email collection options. These are IMAP-based emails. So as you can see, we have AOL, Gmail, IMAP, Outlook, and Yahoo. And then lastly, we have web capture. And web capture is really great because it allows you to capture from a wide variety of data sources. So maybe you need to collect from a social media site that you don't see here. Maybe you want to even capture from a mobile type of application like WhatsApp, but WhatsApp does have a web interface. So you can log into the web and you can still get your forensic captures of that type of data directly through social discovery. So we are going to dive into, first, we're going to take a look at one of the legal use cases, and then we'll be going into more of the law enforcement and the investigation side. But I want to show how social discovery can be applied for, you know, the legal market, the legal setting. So what I'm going to first do, I'm just going to go ahead and call this, we'll call this Posh Collection. So before our webinar, you know, Samir did inform us of the Posh Act that has come into effect in India, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment. And, you know, with a lot more workforce being done online, you know, due to the pandemic, it is very crucial to have a tool that allows you to collect from social media sites such as Facebook, because now, you know, workplace communications are no longer just taking place in an office. They are, you know, happening virtually now more often. And with that virtual environments, that definitely expands to social media websites such as Facebook. So we really have an industry leading tool that allows users to capture this Facebook data in a forensically sound way. So one application of the POSH Act, perhaps there is an HR investigation going on. Of course, with POSH being the prevention of sexual harassment, there may be harassing messages or, posts that may have been written about an employee. No matter what type of data it is, if it's on Facebook, Social Discovery can collect it. So I actually have an example where I'm logged in right now as a Facebook user, where this user has received harassing messages to their Facebook account. So with a legal type of use case, you could typically, if you are working with a lawyer, or even if you are doing an investigation, you may be working with a client who has given you permission to access their social media account. We see this very often, especially if the person who is receiving those harassing or threatening messages, they would be the victim, so they would be willing to share their credentials in order for law enforcement or legal to be able to collect that data and to prove that they are indeed the victim of a crime. So here we have just a Facebook Messenger thread where in this Facebook example, this user did receive threatening messages from a coworker. So with Social Discovery, we can log in with the user's credentials. Again, that's something that has to be provided. Once that's available, we can just navigate to the data. We have a lot of features to automate the collection process. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you. So you can, check some options here to help automate this capture. So right now I'm not moving my mouse. I'm not navigating the page. Social Discovery is just going to do the collection for me. And we're going to see that everything between these messages will be captured with Social Discovery. But not only is it captured, but it also becomes fully text searchable. We also get the metadata for these collections, and the MD5, as Mike was mentioning. And that all helps really to authenticate the data, because anybody can take a screenshot of something, maybe from their phone or from their computer. They can actually alter that image. They can alter that image in any way to maybe show, text that wasn't actually there, or, to change what text was shared between parties. So using a tool like Social Discovery is going to be very crucial, because we have no way to change any of the data. We're pulling it directly from the source, and we have the validation to prove where it's coming from, for the courts or for law enforcement, to show that it has not been altered in any way. And that's really the critical piece with defensibility. So here we have, some of the messages that were shared. This was the collection I ran. So you can see here the message thread, starting. This is coming from one person. The person receiving the messages, you can see they're in blue here. They ask, the colleague, can you please leave me alone? These messages are not appropriate. And then you see information about how this person is actually threatening them, because they were ignoring their messages or their advances. Now this could be very helpful, because you also can text search this. So if I am looking for specific keywords, for example, I'm looking for the word ignoring, or maybe I want to look for a more threatening language, right? I can go ahead and search either a keyword or a phrase. And that's actually going to be highlighted for me. So here we can see, you know, I'm searching for a specific phrase, you're going to pay. That actually insinuates some threatening language. So maybe that might be something that I want to, you know, be looking for. And you can see that Social Discovery found that within seconds within the data. And then we also make it just very easy for you to see, you know, where that text is available. Now, from here, I can go ahead and take a look at some of the metadata that's available. So we can see the URL string, we can see the time of the capture, so we know when it took place. We can see, you know, information about the platform, the MD5, the account name, just a lot of metadata that's going to help validate where this information came from. So this metadata is available in the tool, but when you export it, when you export the collection, the metadata is also available there as well. So now what I want to take a look at, since we have had a glimpse at some use case for Facebook, and you could really use Facebook for so many other ways. In addition to messages, you can capture, you know, full user profiles. You know, maybe there might be a Facebook group that some colleagues created, and maybe within that Facebook group, you know, they are, you know, mocking or harassing another colleague. You can actually navigate to that Facebook group, and you can capture that type of Facebook data as well. So it's not limited to messages, but since we were just, you know, talking about the POSH Act and how that may come into play in the workplace, and, you know, using social media platforms, I thought that would be a good example. But now I want to take a look at Twitter capture, and Twitter is really open-ended in terms of what you can search for and what you can collect. So for the Twitter platform example, what I really want to focus on was really more of the law enforcement side, more of the investigator side, and specifically highlighting the farmers' protests. So there's a couple things that you know, you may be interested in doing if you are in law enforcement or if you're an investigator. So I'm going to go ahead and just name my collection. I can name it whatever I want. I'm just going to name it farmers' protests here. And this is a Twitter capture. So we're navigating to twitter.com. And now from twitter.com, I really have, you know, full range to decide what I want to collect, right? So maybe I'm interested in searching for a specific hashtag. I can go ahead and type in that hashtag. Let's actually I'm going to show us the advanced search. So there is an advanced search option available from Twitter. Now this can be very useful for investigations because it allows the investigator to become, you know, really narrow in what they're looking for. So you can see some options. You can search by keyword, you can search by a phrase, you can search by a hashtag. You can narrow down your search to specific accounts. So if there are specific accounts on Twitter that are maybe engaging in criminal activity or inciting violence or anything like that, you can actually, you know, search for their content specifically. You can also narrow your content by date range. So, you know, with these farmer protests, a lot of the violence actually took place on January 26th. So now that we're in March, if you were just to look on Twitter and just, you know, do a quick simple search, you may not be able to actually find that data all the way back to January. But using the Twitter advanced search through X1, you can get to that information very easily. So I'll show an example of that. We can actually go ahead and we'll do a hashtag search. So let me just go to this field here. And I'll go ahead and just search for the hashtag no farmers, no food. that was a popular hashtag that was being used around that time in support of the farmers' protests. And I also want to now narrow down my scope from January, we'll say January 20th, let's say. And then we can go to, we'll do the 19th and we'll do 2021. And then I can see anything that came. I want it to stop on January 20, we'll say 27th, just to give us another day. And then we can type in another date. So here you can see I have my hashtag applied. I have my date range. Now, even though we're in March, this should take me back directly to that time frame, so I can see some of that activity that was happening on social media at that time. So we can see right away the top results here. These are, you know, January 25th, January 26th. These were right around the dates of what we want to be looking for, of, you know, where some of those peaceful protests turn violent. And you can get even more specific than this. I'm just searching a general hashtag just to kind of give you all an example of ways that you can use Twitter and use social discovery to investigate. But this is more or less the time frame that you want to be in. And then now that I have the data populated, I can go ahead and collect it. So here we have some capture settings for Twitter. We have the ability to do auto scrolling. And again, the auto scrolling is going to help you automate your collection process. So right now I'm just clicking capture, and you will start to see that the tool is going to start scrolling down the social media data. So I'm actually not doing anything. I'm just letting social discovery do all the work for me. You know, we even have some users who may just let this run for a brief period and then, you know, come back and revisit it. But you can definitely work on other things as the tool is, you know, capturing. And actually, while the information is being collected, I can go ahead and look at the content that's coming in. So I don't necessarily have to, you know, wait until everything has been collected. I can actually start to look at it as it's coming in, which is very great. So here we have the pages are going to be downloading. And then I'll be able to review all of the collected content, you know, within my interface here. So that's going to allow you to do very targeted searches, your hashtag searches, your username searches, to really get to, you know, data that would not be easily accessible without social discovery. And then let's go ahead and bring up the interface here. So during the collection process, we can start to see some of those tweets coming in here. So you can see, you know, some of the tweets as they're coming in. I can start to use my keyword searches, you know, to maybe narrow down to what I'm looking for, anything that, you know, may be of interest to me. And the great thing about social discovery is as you are investigating and as you are searching, you may run into other accounts that you want to collect. So, you know, perhaps this particular Twitter username, maybe I find them interesting enough, I want to investigate them a little bit more. I can actually take their username and I can just plug them into social discovery, and I continue to build my investigation and build my case, basically. So that is definitely how, you know, law enforcement may actually, you know, use social discovery, some use cases here. And then of course we have the metadata. So this is all coming directly from the source. In this case, this is from Twitter. You can see all of the Twitter fields like the username, Twitter handle, the time this this was posted, all of the information, again, that's going to help make this defensible, when it goes to court, or if it ever goes to court, you will have that confidence with what you have collected. I want to show one other feature in the tool, and that's the web capture. So with web capture, again, it is very open-ended. You can go ahead and navigate to almost any website that's out there. As long as you can access it from a browser like Chrome, you should be able to access that data from Social Discovery. And that's because we use a built-in Chrome browser. So one of the websites that we found of interest that Samir brought to our attention at X1 is actually Snap Maps. And Snap Maps is accessible from just from a desktop browser. So we are able to locate that with the Social Discovery Web Capture 2. And this is something that, investigators also use during the farmers' protests as well. And they were able to use this type of tool, Snap Maps, to track, the large crowds during the protests and their activity. So it is one thing to go ahead and track that information, but if you needed to capture that information, and if you needed to, have it preserved, and have that be defensible, that's where Social Discovery would come into play. So you can really do both. You can locate that data, and then you can go ahead and collect it. So here, what I would do is I can go ahead and just take my snapshot. This is actually going to download the HTML of the web page, all of the source code. It will also download a PNG and PDF image of the content. So you really have the whole data preserved. It is not just a screenshot. Social Discovery is always going to go much deeper. That's why we pride ourselves on being a forensics tool, because we are not just taking images of the data. We are, capturing it at a much deeper level. So I want to show you what that content could look like once it's captured into the Social Discovery tool. So this is the same Snap Map that we saw. This is, the same area where, some of the protests were happening. And you could actually, narrow in more if you wanted to sort of track the activity, see the movement of the large crowds, through the different areas. But this is just one example. And with any web page that we capture as well, that would also become fully text searchable. In the case of a map, that may not be the most useful, but for large websites, blog sites, forums, where there may be a lot of activity and comments and things like that, having this the text search functionality can be, very important. And one thing that I wanted to show also here is what the export options are. So, you have the collection side, which we talked about, but it's very important also to know what your options are for getting the data out of the tool. So we have many available, resources. You have the ability to do a load file. If you are in the legal field, a load file format may be best for you. We also have CSV, custom delimited PDF. PDF, is just a universally accepted output. A lot of people find it very easy to review. Our PDFs are fully text searchable. So if we needed to export any of this content, we could go ahead and export that out to PDF. And I can actually show you an example of what that might look like. So I'll go ahead and bring up a quick web capture export, and you'll be able to see the content of the web page. So this is exported out into a nice report. We make it very easy to review. You can see the full content of the web page. This is actually a Reddit page, and you can see that this PDF, it actually spans over 70 pages, but this whole everything is fully text searchable. So if I needed to go ahead and work in my keywords, I can do that, and I can get right to the areas of interest for me. Then if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I will have my metadata that's going to make this information defensible. It's going to tell you where this data actually came from as well, which will help validate the source coming from X1 Social Discovery. And as John mentioned, our tool is used internationally. It is internationally accepted in courts. It's used by law enforcement. So if you are not familiar with it, we're very excited that we've had the opportunity to just give you this introduction and show you some ways that you may be able to apply our social discovery product in your investigations and your day-to-day activities. But I do want to be mindful of the time here. So I know we are coming up to the time slot, but I know that we want to go ahead and answer questions. So I think at this point, I may hand it back to Sheeny or to Karen, and we can get these the question section started. I think I see you raising your hand, Samir.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
If you recall, you had mentioned that we can do a collection from WhatsApp web.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So how do we go about doing that?
So that would be similar to what I showed for the Snap Maps. So basically, to get started for a WhatsApp collection, for example, you would just select the web capture option. You would name your collection. I'll go ahead and just name the collection. And then I'm going to choose my capture type, which is single page snapshot. And then from this point, I can go ahead and just plug in my URL. So you may already have a URL to a specific WhatsApp thread, or if you want to just log in to that, you could go ahead and there is a way basically where you can use your phone to log in through the web. So what I'll go ahead and do is I will put this link up, and this actually will give you information on how you can access WhatsApp from your computer. So you would basically just follow these steps. You would, whatever WhatsApp account you are trying to get into, you would open that up on your phone. You would go to the settings. You would point to the QR code. And then basically once you do that, you would be logged into the account, that you're capturing, and you can see the different message threads. You can go into the message threads and you can capture them, the same way that, we've done for example, the Facebook Messenger or for other web capture data.
Got it.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like that went to your WhatsApp. I saw a login. I think somebody tried that.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, so we have a number of participants who raised their hands. Okay, so there's somebody called 897-5978-7431.
So what is, can we extract the data without two-step authentication factor?
So that's going to depend. That's a great question. So in case anybody couldn't hear that clearly, the question was, can we extract the data without two-factor authentication? So that's going to depend on the platform, and that's going to depend on the account. So what I mean by that is, it sort of just depends on what account you are logging in with. So maybe, in most cases, our users are going to be setting up an examiner account. The examiner account is really just an investigator account. It doesn't have any data tied to it. So when you do your collections, you know, nobody can actually see who is viewing their profile, you know, who's collecting it. So in that case, you really wouldn't need a two-factor authentication. And social discovery is really designed to allow you to access the same way that you would in a browser. So if you are navigating to a site or logging into an account that is going to require that extra step, that extra login step, then you would just perform the step directly through the browser the same way that you would through your mobile app or through, you know, your standard Chrome browser. We would allow you to do that. Once you pass the authentication, then you should be open and available to actually collect the data with social discovery.
Is it same as a cloud data extraction?
It I'm not extremely familiar with the cloud data extraction tool. I would imagine that social discovery works similarly because we are accessing the data through web sources. Specifically, the data isn't all hosted in one location, one cloud location necessarily, but most of the you know, data sources that we actually work with and collect, they are web-based, and the way that we are accessing them is done through internal web browsers.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Chaitanya Vig.
Yeah, hi Ashley. I just want to know, like, is it possible to view the information that is restricted to friends?
That is a great question. You can do that if you are friended to the account. So if you do not have any connection to the account, and I'll bring up Facebook that I think that would be a good example to show, but you would have to be connected to the account, I should say, in case in the case where the account is private. So for example, let me go ahead and let me bring up one profile here. And I don't believe I am friends with this profile. So you can see I actually have requested this profile because it's my colleague's account. It's a test account that we use. But right now, I am not friended to the account. So you can see here, it says cancel request. That means that I sent a friend request, but they haven't approved me yet. So what I'm able to see is only what this user makes publicly available. So you can see from the profile, they really only have a very small amount of data available if you are not friended to them. If I did have a friend connection to this account, then I would be able to see the data. But social discovery itself, we do not bypass any user privacy settings. We comply with all of the, you know, terms and of service for each of the social media platforms. So it is, you know, really just based off of what account you're using, if it has a connection, if the data is private, you know, whatever is available to you, we can collect.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi,
Hello.
what's your question?
Ma'am, my question is whether we can analyze on the basis of location, like a particular hashtag is being viral in a particular location. How can we fetch that also? Even if the user has disabled his or her location, ma'am, because
Okay.
most of the time a user disable his location whenever he shares some content over social media.
Yes, that is a great question. I will say that you could do that through Twitter searching. But for something like Facebook, for example, they really do not allow users to search by a specific location. But with Twitter, you can do it through the advanced search. We actually call that geo searching. And with the geo searching, basically what you can do is you can find the coordinates of the location that you want. Here, I'll actually bring up a document here that I can show on my screen. This can sort of show you how you could use social discovery to capture based off location. So I'll go ahead and zoom in here. But basically, it would be a multi-step process, but it is definitely possible. You would just want to find your coordinates first on Google Maps. So you would plug in, search the area that you want, search the place of interest, the city, etc. Once you get those coordinates, you can then go ahead and go back into the Twitter capture tool that we looked at, and then you can basically build a geo search. So here you can see the search. It says, the geo code with the coordinates, and this is basically going to allow you then to search for specific content within within that radius. This is a 5-kilometer radius. You can define that. And I will say for the advanced search, I don't necessarily believe that the user has to tag their location, but I do believe that they have to have, their location services enabled. I don't think it's possible with any tool, including social discovery, that you would be able to collect location data, when the user has, explicitly turned that off.
Excellent. Thank you, Ashley. We have a question from Mr. Nato. Please go ahead. You'll have to unmute yourself, please.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I have a small question. What about the retrieval of deleted account or deleted post in Facebook or any other?
Retrieval of deleted data and archive data in Facebook posts. Is that the question? Okay, I believe that's what your question was. Yeah. So I want to just reiterate that social discovery is going to allow you to access what is present on the account at the time of capture. And that is just following Facebook policy. We are just able to see what they make available to their users and to their database, right? So if an account has, or I should say, if a post has already been deleted, or if the account even has been deleted before you are able to, to search for the account or to collect it, we won't be able to access that. If Facebook no longer makes that data available, then there's no way for any tool to get that, including social discovery. The great thing about social discovery, however, is we see this happen a lot. If you are, very proactive with your collections, you're able to, let's say, preserve the account or the tweets or the posts before a user takes their tweets down or their account down. You will have that saved to your hard drive, as Mike mentioned, like if a YouTube video is deleted. That also goes for posts, that goes for accounts too. So for example, in my Posh collection that I did, where I had basically this user, John Gilbert, he was sending, threatening, harassing messages to a colleague. If John decided to, maybe he knew that he was being investigated, or maybe he knew that the person that he was harassing was going to report him, he could delete his account, he could delete the messages. But because I already have it collected in social discovery, it doesn't matter if he deletes it after the fact. I have that data preserved, it's on my hard drive, and I have the authenticity to prove where that data came from, when it was captured. So that's a great thing that once you have it, it's not going anywhere. But unfortunately, if it is removed before you are able to locate it or get access to it, then that would be a limitation, just like with any other product.
No, next question is, we have faced a lot of cases concerning to, post-criminal activities. Most of the criminals usually deleted the post from their mobile phone. So if the data from the mobile phone is deleted, whether it will be deleted from the server also, or is there any way how to retrieve the data using this software?
I would say that there's most likely no way to get that using social discovery. What I can say though is that if you have the credentials, you would need the credentials. You would need more than just the phone. You would actually need to have the login information. But Facebook does have a feature called Download Your Information, where you can download this archive of all of your data, even data that has been deleted. But again, that is only accessible if you have the user's credentials. So I'm not sure if that is something that you would have access to. If you don't have access to the credentials, though, you would not be able to get that.
The credentials, as far as credentials is concerned, when we analyze the internet artifacts, we got some footprints of the account, Facebook profile. We got a Facebook profile when we analyze the internet artifact from the mobile phone. But once we try to get an in-depth account, we are unable to get any data regarding that. But if this software can help, then it will be a good boon for us.
Yes. And I was going to say, Mike and I can also, work with you directly as well to better understand your specific use cases, and we can help you, see how social discovery can be applied, because every organization, every business may have a different use case. So we can help you, to see if this tool would be a good fit for you and how to best apply it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, ma'am. I have a continuing question, please.
Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, I want to know, can we download complete followers detail? Like if a particular celebrity or a particular account has like 1 million followers or more than that, can we download the complete followers list?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, it's going to work differently based off of each platform that we're talking about. But we do have, as I mentioned, some automated features that would allow you to make that easier. So, for example, if I were to bring up a Facebook capture, I can go ahead and navigate. Let me go ahead and navigate to I'll just navigate to like
Ma'am, can you do it for Twitter, please? And
for Twitter.
In between a particular time period, if you want to download.
So you wouldn't be able to.
If I want to download the followers from 1st of Jan to.
Yeah, so that is a great question. So I'm understanding what you're asking.
Till date, ma'am.
Yes.
So can we also?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're asking if you can download like the followers activity from a specific time period. Actually, Twitter does not make that information available as far as when somebody started following an account. Basically, if I were to go to, let's say, a celebrity profile, here's an example, I'll have access to view the number of followers, but to my knowledge, Twitter does not provide you any way where you can date range filter this. So what you would basically be able to do is you would be able to navigate to the followers section if that's what you want to capture. You could use the auto scroll settings, to automatically scroll down this page for you, and we can, begin in to capture this content, but unfortunately they don't provide a date range option for followers. They do provide a date range option if you're looking for tweets, but for followers activity, they do not make that available.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a number of people waiting. I will take the last 3 questions of the people who have raised their hands. It's already quite late for the X1 team also. Can we request Mr. Ajay Kumar, after that followed by Mr. Karan Johar and Mr. Sudhanshu Shekhar and Mr. Rahul Vishkarma. Just these 4, please.
Hello, my name is Rahul Vishkarma.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Rahul.
Yes, sir. Actually, we are working in an intelligence department. So actually, I want to know that if a person is deleted a raw data in a Facebook and WhatsApp web and WhatsApp, so can I retrieve?
Right. So this question has sort of been asked in a different way, I would say, before as well. So I'm hearing a lot of interest about getting deleted information. So whether it is from Facebook or I believe you mentioned WhatsApp, if that data is no longer available before you're able to navigate to it or capture it with social discovery, there won't be a way to access it. So this tool is really designed to allow you to capture exactly what you can see, whether it's from the web or whether it's from a social media platform. So if the information was already deleted, it would not be accessible from any tool.
But maybe you could approach the service provider directly, through the nodal officer to request for the data if it has not been deleted very long back.
Yes, that's true. And then other approaches that we see here, at least in the United States, is the courts can actually subpoena Facebook or Twitter. They can actually require that those providers, return the data history, basically. But that's a very lengthy process. Doesn't actually always work. So yeah, that there may be other avenues though.
No, yeah, it's a right. But you have any ideas for your any suggest for your any clouds for the X1 any platforms for retrieve as like a path?
Yeah, so the only other thing that I could think of that you could, maybe use X1 Social Discovery to get that information would be to use the Wayback Machine. So I'm not sure if this audience is familiar with the Wayback Machine, but it's basically archive of a website. So even for some social media sites, when the information has been deleted, the Wayback Machine may have made an archive of that web page. So it may no longer be available, but if the web archive captured that page, you may be able to go back to it. It's not a perfect option though, because the Wayback Machine doesn't, archive every social media site and every social media post every single day. But it could definitely work in some cases. That would really be the only other tool that I can think of.
That's a great suggestion. Ashley, it didn't strike me, but yes, the Wayback Machine could be a gold mine. Archive.org. It has a lot of old historical data of different websites on it. And if we can use the X1 software and run it against the data that's on the Wayback Machine, that would be really great. So I think we can move on to the next question. Let's keep it short. Mr. Ajay Kumar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, my question is related to dark web. Basically, what type of data that was running through dark web we can extract from this tool? Or what information in respect of dark web? Please throw a light on it.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we may actually be able to do a full webinar on this if the audience is interested, because I think it would really take a lot of time to show, you know, how you can use social discovery to capture from the dark web. What I can say is that it definitely is possible. We don't have a built-in Tor browser, but we do have, you know, little tricks that you can do to manipulate the browser, to, you know, go from basically your Tor to Onion, and then you can plug in URLs from the dark web for capture. So that is definitely possible to do, and if the audience is interested, we may be able to provide additional information on that. We have done webinars on that in the past over at X1 Social Discovery.
I think there's definitely going to be a demand for that. I'm sure everybody would like to request one of those. So maybe, you know, we can do another one sometime in the future on the dark web.
Yeah, that would be great.
Everybody's, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's required basically. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Any traceable on the dark web paths, sir?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question.
Yeah, what was the question again, please?
Any ideas about the traceable of dark web store and any platforms?
We'll take it up later. Rahulji, if you can just, you know, send it to us as a message or a WhatsApp, we will follow it up and get back to you later. Mr. Ashok Khalko, please.
Madam, just I want to ask whether we can send any image or any audio clip on the Facebook or social platform.
Is the question if you can search an image on a Facebook or social media platform?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Any audio clip also. Yes.
So the search capabilities would basically be limited to whatever the platform offers, right? So we leverage, you know, each of the social media scanners that you see here. To my knowledge, Facebook or Twitter do not provide any way to search by image. So you really wouldn't be able to go directly to these platforms to run an image search. The best, or, you know, the most common, I should say, image search that we see is actually Google image search. And that's actually something that we see, you know, within our certification courses, our certification tech does teach investigators how to do advanced image searches. It would be through Google, but if you are searching, maybe you're trying to identify a social media platform, you could plug in an image in there. It may give you results for different social media accounts that image is associated with. So we don't have that built directly into the tool, but you can definitely still access those features within social discovery, you know, by navigating to, you know, Google advanced search, let's say, and you should be able to get to that type of search.
Hi, this is Sudhanshu here. I have a question. This is related to the YouTube upload. If there is a video being uploaded into YouTube through a channel, does X1 have the capability to find out the location and maybe beyond what is the source from where it was uploaded? Is there any possibility we can get it?
That's a great question. So I didn't really get a chance to talk about YouTube, but I'll just show quickly here the options. So this is just a YouTube video with social discovery, what we're able to do is we can basically instantly capture YouTube videos or full YouTube channels. Oh, that's not the right link here. Let me go ahead and do that again. But what I think that you are asking about is actually something called EXIF data. And EXIF data is usually found within the properties of images and videos. And it is almost like metadata in a sense about the source of, where the video came from, including sometimes location. So in all of my experience, anytime you upload a photo or a video to any social media platform, including YouTube, my understanding is that when it's uploaded to their servers, that EXIF data is actually removed. So if you were to, go to YouTube, even outside of social discovery, and, maybe you found a way to save the video, if you looked at the properties of that video, you would basically see the properties for the date that you downloaded it, the time that you downloaded it, the size of the file, but the information, the original properties information would actually be stripped by the time it's uploaded to those servers. So the general rule of thumb is that information is not available when you download, video content or even photo content from social media platforms. But we do get other metadata available from YouTube. It just wouldn't be the specific EXIF data that I believe you're asking about.